The Chicago Bears have just a freak athlete that unfortunately is going to be on the chopping block. And we're getting close to cut day, right? And the Bears have already started trimming players. And there's just this freak athlete, and it's a difficult cut. And the guy on the chopping block that I'm talking about is Dominique Robinson. And if he's cut, it's just really disappointing. The guy's still raw, tons of potential, but it's mostly situational as well, and making the roster squeeze due to the signing of Darrell Taylor. A great defensive end signing, right? Just a really nice move by GM Ryan Poles, but also the performance of Daniel Hardy in the preseason is really putting the squeeze on Robinson. And here's a story on heavy.com. Read it in its entirety to get the real skinny on this. I'm just going to kind of hit some highlights, and I wanted to get this information out to you. And frankly, the Bears have been trying to develop Robinson for a couple of years. The team's greatly improved, so it's harder to make this roster. That's a really good thing. And the guy just hasn't flashed a ton. I, for one, would love to keep him, but I don't think it's possible. And this isn't a lock to happen. The position group is still thin, but after playing in all 17 games as a rookie in 2022, the team, they decided to keep Robinson out for 6 straight games last year. He was a healthy scratch. And this is a guy with incredible athletic measurables. The guy's just a freak. He moves fast. He's 6'5", 253 pounds. And he played in 51% of Chicago's defensive snaps as a rookie. And that number dwindled to only 35%. And here's some little known things about him that I wasn't fully aware of. The guy played both quarterback and wide receiver early in his college career at Miami of Ohio. And then he switched over to the defensive line as a senior. So this guy's still learning about being a pass rusher in the NFL. Obviously, he's still developing, and I'm sure being kept in the consideration is possible. But we're talking about year 3 as a 5th-round pick who's shown almost zero flash during the regular season. And you're also looking at this competition of sorts with Harvey. And I think this preseason it's been an improvement for Robinson. Both of these guys have benefited from Jacob Martin getting injured early in camp. I mean, Martin flashed to open camp, but he hurt his ankle in the second day of pads, I believe. Hasn't come back to the roster. Hardy and Robinson, they've really taken advantage of these opportunities. They originally appeared to be in line to make the roster as just good rotational edge rushers, core special teams as of Thursday. But then we see the signing of Taylor. Once again, pretty circumstantial. You see the Bears pushing Austin Booker ahead of Robinson last week. Daniel Hardy. This guy is looking like a huge find. He's outperformed Robinson. He should be pushing him off the roster. That is, if even one of them makes it, I really think it's going to be Hardy. But Hardy played to back that up. Hardy played the second most snaps, 109 among the team's edge rushers in the preseason. That's behind Kareem at 114, but he produced more sacks, 4 pressures, 14. He produced more than any other NFL edge rusher that played in the preseason. That's a big thing. And he also passes the eye test. We're looking at 8 stops in the run game. He showed a nice blend of just pass rushing. He was good at stopping the run. And let's just hear PFF speak. Hardy finished with the best tackling grade, 78.1, tied for the 5th best run defense grade, 80.5, and that's out of 222 players who logged at least 1 snap at outside linebacker or defensive end during this whole preseason. So what does that tell us? On paper, Hardy's won the battle, right? But the Bears, they might instead look to stick things out with Robinson, kind of hold on for a little longer. It was their 5th-round pick in 2022. Maybe they can still develop him. I don't know, man, but it's worth noting that our GM, he mentioned he was pleased with Robinson's development, and that was in his mid-game interview during the preseason game on August 17th. That was against the Bengals. Then there's Jacob Martin. The guy's hurt, but he was looking pretty great in camp before that. And it's possible that the Bears keep Martin as their 4th edge rusher, and that further crowds the defensive end room even more. So what would prevent this? What would happen? What would have to happen to keep Robinson on this roster? I think our defensive coordinator, Coach Washington, I think it's dependent on him if he thinks that he can still develop this guy. And there's not really a better defensive line coach in the whole NFL than Eric Washington. He's on staff as defensive coordinator, and he's going to really contribute there. But Coach Flus is calling the plays. And I think, make no bones about it, Eric Washington is there to get this defensive line in order, to squeeze the potential out of these players that are trying to develop. And I think the proof has been in the pudding, for lack of a better way of putting it. This defensive line is developing before our eyes. Austin Booker is balling out. You got Hardy really showing some pop. You've got just guys up and down the line performing at their optimal level. And I think Eric Washington was one of the best additions of this whole offseason. And that's even including the rookies that were drafted. I mean, the coaching matters. And Washington, he's one of the best. We're so blessed to have him. So I think moving forward, I think also the Bears thinking Hardy won't perform as well against regular season competition. That could be a thing. It could be also Martin's injury status clears up magically before Tuesday. I mean, and also that Martin's past career performance, that makes him a must hold. There's a lot of things that could happen. But Robinson, in essence, he needs to be worried about Hardy facing better competition. He wants the Bears to think that. He's got to worry about Martin's injury status. He's pretty much done what he can in this preseason and in camp to try to make this team. And kind of with this, let's pair it with a couple early cuts. The Bears waived a vet. Defensive end Khalid Kareem. He was scratched from the roster on Friday, and that's right after the agreement to bring Darrell Taylor onto the team. Kind of a little bit about Kareem. He was a 2020 fifth-round pick for Cincinnati. He got plucked off the waivers during the 2023 roster cut-down period. Landed on IR last year ahead of their third regular season game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he got demoted to the practice squad even after he returned from his injury. So Kareem no longer being a Bear, not surprising. He returned on a reserve future contract for 2024, and he kind of looked like he had an outside chance of winning a depth spot. He even made his case. The guy had a solid preseason. He had 1 sack, 6 pressures, 5 tackles in 4 games. But effectively, when the Bears traded for Taylor, the writing was on the wall with him. One more player that's no longer a Bear, 26-year-old wide receiver Freddie Swain. This guy has bounced around. He showed some flashes in the league here and there. He was placed on Chicago's injured reserve list on August 21st. That's after he signed with the team in May. The guy played 30 snaps for Chicago in the preseason, caught 3 passes for 30 yards, but his tenure as a Chicago Bear is over. And Poles has said leading into this season, this is going to be a hard team to make. Players that might have scooched onto the roster and actually got a lot of playing time. Robinson is a good example of that. He played 17 games in his rookie season. As this team has improved, as this team has started to become elite on defense, that's just not going to cut it anymore. You have to perform even to make this team. And I'd rather have somebody like Jamari Chroma make this team, or at least placed in higher priority over Robinson. I just think the guy just isn't going to develop. So unless Coach Washington decides otherwise, if he stays on the team, that means Coach Washington believes in him and expect him to be developed. So we'll see what's up, you guys. Bear down. It's been such a great offseason, but I'm going to be honest. I'm ready for real games. I'm ready to finish my fantasy football drafts. I'm ready for the NFL to start, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I'll talk to you soon. Bear down, and